What do you make of Labour's stance against the FG's position on this issue of Labour said the protest was largely about hunger. The federal government says NLC led by Joe Ajero is not sincere. I mean, it keeps shifting the goalposts at every time. What's your view?
Well, first of all, it's necessary that we understand that Labour represent the interests, the aspirations, and the rights of Nigerian workers. So they have that mandate to speak in the defense of the interests of Nigerian workers, advance their dreams and expectations. And the government has a responsibility as a constituted authority to implement programs and reforms. Now, the area of contention here is the economic reform policy that has now touched on the lives of people and has created problems for so many people. Well, naturally, and in history, whenever you have an economic reforms, there is bound to be consequences of that reforms. It has happened when Margaret Thatcher took over office in 1979-80. She implemented reforms in Britain that led to a number of issues. And then Deng Xiaoping in China, when he took over, the same thing with Mahathir Mohamad in Malaysia, Sani in Indonesia, and several others in Brazil and Argentina. But what those in the position of power need to understand is that when you are implementing economic reforms, you must anticipate the crisis and the issues that will arise out of it, and then you make provisions to address it. But the government in power today has inherited some problems which it was not responsible, and that there are also mistakes which it has made. The problem it has inherited is that what is going on in Nigeria today, if the Buhari administration in the last 8 years has implemented those reforms, then we could have been reaping the benefit of it now. For 8 years, he couldn't remove subsidy. For 8 years, he couldn't stabilize the naira. And the way we were going about it is that pumping billions, then trillions, then borrowing to subsidize petroleum products. And then secondly, money is being pumped into also subsidize the naira. If all these things was done, it couldn't have been. But it's the same party. Buhari handed over to Tinubu.
So there's no excuse.
Yeah, Buhari handed over to Tinubu, and they have said so many nice things about him. They have praised him, they have eulogized him, and said so many good things. Recently, when a book was launched, praises upon praises on Buhari's administration. And then the same people who praised him will now come and say that this is what he has done wrongly, and what we must be very practical and realistic with ourselves. The problems we find ourselves today originated, was engineered, fabricated, and sustained by the Buhari administration. The Buhari administration institutionally, fundamentally destroyed the Nigerian economy. And then when Tinubu took over power, and he knows that there is not going to be subsidy, and to be realistic, he was very frank during his campaign. He said, I am going to remove subsidy, and whatever protest that will come out of it, I will not back down. This is all on record. And then people went ahead and voted for him. So he has not deceived Nigerians. Now he is in power. So we are paying the price for the mistakes of the past, for the failure of the past, and for what we refused to do in the past. So this is reality. Labour has the right to protest, but Nigeria should not fear Labour protest. The protest that should be feared is the one that will be organized by an unorganized civil society. Labour protest comes with notice and comes with specifications and comes with control. We are going to have a protest, and it's going to last for 2 days, and we are going to lead it, and we're going to call for its suspension.
Say that again, sorry. Yeah. This is not Labour-oriented at all.
I know. The protest that took place was a Labour protest.
Okay.
Led by Nigerian workers. But the one should be feared is the one that will be organized by an unorganized civil society, where the people who are hungry, will now come out on the street.
Is there such a plan?
It is not going to be a 2 days affair, and it's not going to be led by anybody. It's going to be people in the street. So for now, this has happened. Lessons should be taken. We must address the problems of poverty, of inflation, of hunger in the country. At this state, today, people can't pay their rent. People can't pay the tuition fees of their children. People can't afford to eat. But these are consequences of the reforms. If this was done 5, 6, 7 years ago, we couldn't have been. But we have reached, Tinubu is in a dilemma. He has 2 options. The first one is to implement reform, lose popularity, and then put Nigeria on the right trajectory for the future. The second one is to do what other governments do. Pump in money to subsidize petroleum products, pump in money to show up the naira, and then we'll reach a point which we can't go further. So it is all left for him today. We have had a trickle of this in 1989 when SAP, Structural Adjustment Program of Babangida, was introduced. And people woke up in a day and see IMF policies implemented sector by sector. And there was protest, if you have not forgotten.
Yes, I've not.
So this is where we are today. Things we refused to do in the past, we are now facing the reality of it. A realistic reform, then it has to be fundamental. And again, the ruling party had made promises of a restructuring, which is a reset or reconfiguration of Nigeria. But it has not happened under Buhari administration. And it is expected that President Bola Tinubu, coming from that background, we have seen steps being taken to restructure this country. Restructuring this country will not only cut the cost of governance, but will make the country more efficient.
And this is
where you have a nation that has a House of Representatives and the Senate. Senegal was able to abolish the Senate. And what you have here, the functions of the Senate and House of Reps are the same. The difference is that we in the Senate, we confirm the appointments of Mr. President, and they don't do it in House of Reps. But other than that, it's the same. Now you have 360 people and 109 people, all serviced by the state in tens of billions of naira. So if we are going to cut the cost of governance, it's simply not be about merging ministries or harmonizing bureaucracies.